All right, we're going to continue on with chapter 3 and 4 of The Bet by Evan Jacobs. Chapter 3 is called Busted, and I want you to think about why this chapter is called Busted. Chapter 3, Busted. You used a boost, Steve snapped. Marlin looked at him. No, I didn't, he said. You cheated, Steve said. We agreed, no boosts. Steve rarely got mad. He was pretty easygoing. Marlin could see his friend was upset. I didn't. That ogre had you. I just tricked it, Marlin smiled. He paused the game. Marlin couldn't talk when he played video games. He would die for sure. You lose, Steve grinned. I win. I'm better at the game than you are. I'm still alive. Marlin held up the controller. Because you cheated. I did not cheat. Fine. Steve suddenly stood up. Whatever. You can't ever just play the game. You always have to cheat. I didn't cheat, Marlin lied. Besides, it's only a game. Right. That's why you shouldn't have to cheat. Steve turned. He walked out the front door. I don't play with cheaters, Steve called out. Marlin made sure the game was still paused. Then he followed Steve out of the house. His friend was already halfway down the street. I didn't cheat, Steve, Marlin called. He was starting to get mad, but he did cheat. Steve was his friend. He should believe him. That's why Marlin was mad. You're a liar, Steve yelled. He turned around and stared. And worse than that, you're a cheater. Marlin stopped. Fine. Think whatever you want, he said. I will. Marlin watched him walk away. Maybe Steve just needed time to cool off. Then they could play the game again. His homework was done. Marlin sent Steve a text. No response. He waited a bit. Would Steve video chat? Marlin clicked the chat app. Still no response. Marlin didn't say much at dinner. His family didn't seem to notice. His dad talked about work. He was an urban planner. The job required a lot of driving. He helped the city to grow. His office also planned remodels. Old buildings were made new again. The city wants to build a new sports park soon, he said. They are moving up the schedule. I'll be working longer days. Marlin was relieved. One less parent in the house, he thought. One less adult telling me not to play video games. His mom talked about her day, too. We started a new science lesson today. It was on friction. I had the students run across the floor. Then they had to slide. They got to feel how friction works. The Moore kids each looked like one of their parents. Marlin's hair was short, like his father. Marlin and his dad had brown eyes and dimples. Marlin's mom had short curly hair. His sister's hair was longer, but Ashley's was not as curly. Ashley and her mom had high cheekbones, and their eyes were green. Ashley talked about school. She was a good student. Her report cards were always great. She was also an athlete. Track and field were her sports at the high school. Coach made us practice 30 minutes longer, she said. It was all because Becky was 30 minutes late. She didn't have a good enough excuse. Coach said we are a team. When one of us messes up, we all mess up. How was your day? His mom asked him. It was boring, Marlin said. Middle school is boring. He yawned. It was Ashley's night to clean up. Marlin watched TV. He did not talk to Steve. It wasn't a big deal. The two would talk in the morning. Chapter 4 is titled Oh Snap. As I read chapter 4, I want you to think about why this chapter is called Oh Snap. Chapter 4. It was the next morning. Marlin hoped to talk to Steve. They usually met by Walden Park. It had a long trail. The trail made for great hiking. They always met up. Then they would walk to school together. But not this morning. Marlin thought about texting his friend. Was Steve sick? Maybe that's why he got so upset. He didn't feel well. Marlin took out his phone. He did not send the text. Instead, he played Clan Castle. That happened a lot. He'd start something, but then he'd get distracted. His name, Luigi714, popped up. That's Steve's player's name. Weird. Marlin was Marlonio714. The names were from Mario Brothers games. Those games were epic. Both boys loved him. Steve was playing online. Luigi714 suddenly signed off. Marlin stopped playing too. Why did Steve stop? Didn't he want to play with him? Steve never showed up at the park. Marlin walked to school by himself. Hey, Marlin, Doug Green called out. He was standing with Clark Pham and Steve. The three were near the school entrance. Doug was really into music. He liked classic rock. Today he was wearing a Rolling Stones t-shirt. Marlin loved wearing themed t-shirts too. He was wearing one from Star Wars. None of the boys asked him to join them. They kept talking. Steve didn't even look his way. Marlin looked around. He saw students talking. They were laughing and having fun. Marlin knew so many kids, but he wasn't tight with them. Steve, Clark, and Doug were his crew. It was 5 minutes until the bell. He decided to head to first period. What was he supposed to do now? He never got to class early. Miss Egan was his English teacher. Good morning, Marlin, she said, surprised. Hi, Marlin said. He was a little embarrassed. There were only 4 other early birds. They were talking about The Chosen. The class was reading it that semester. It was about 2 boys who were different. Marlin was behind in his reading. He didn't have much to say. This was going to be a tough day. So we finished chapter 3 and chapter 4. On your Canvas page, tell me why chapter 3 is called Busted. Who got in trouble and how did they get busted? And chapter 4 is called Oh Snap. Oh Snap. So in your Canvas page, tell me why you think the author titled those 2 chapters like they did.